Good morning and welcome. You are with the Skeinz Diaries, episode 193. I'm Maree, and it is, Thursday, the 15th of September. I do not know where the month is going. It has been completely insane. Welcome along for another installment, and I hope everything is going well where you are today. We've had another cold snap here, snow back on the hills, and it was cold last night, and it's absolutely freezing cold this morning, which is great. I like that because it means that I actually thought honestly that this was me done and dusted for my thicker woolies this winter, but no, we've had one more sort of lash in the tail for the weather, and it has been quite cool. Good morning. I am also really hoping this morning as well that I've got us back connected with YouTube. I've been working on that since yes, we have. We're back. Margaret, thank you so much for letting me know that we're back. That's wonderful. I don't authorizations. Don't you love websites? The things they do for you. But that's all right. So the last few days I have been working away. Yesterday really, with the cooler weather. So it was quite good to get a bit of work done on Fox Bay, which is awesome. And I thought I'd show you where I was at. I've done a huge amount, but it's been nice. You know how, like, I think starting a new project is a little bit like starting a new book. You've sort of just got to get past that first sort of, chapter. And for me, a new project's the same. I just sort of got to get past my workings and the time that I take to work things out, my swatching, and that initial cast on. And once I've done that, I just fly, absolutely fly. So I'm really happy about that. So I didn't bring this in the other day, but just to show you, yes, I did swatch my project. So that's the project that I'm swatching. If you are new, I am doing Fox Bay by Erica Knight. And it is done originally in a yarn called Pebble Island, which is a Falkland Island merino. Now, we did get a question come through on the email about what yarn I was using in terms of vintage, because I am using vintage DK. And for those who are eagle-eyed on the pattern or who have purchased the pattern, notice that the yarn the needle used is a 4.5 millimeter needle and a 20 stitch tension, and I think in Ravelry it's actually listed as a 10 ply. Now I'm denied about what I was going to do, and the beautiful thing about vintage is that we have it both in DK and 10 ply. I have opted for DK, and I've done that for two reasons. One is I'm a warmer climate here, so for me it does make a slightly lighter drapier fabric, which suits the climate in which I live. So, and particularly with a cardigan like this, I can see this being a bit of a transitional piece, wearing it across seasons. So that was reason number one that I chose the DK. Reason number two is I actually looked at the Pebble Island yarn that was originally designed in, and that showed a meterage actually of pretty much bang on what our standard DKs are anyway. And the reason that they have added the extra weight is, being a merino, there will be a bit of loft in that yarn, and it's an untreated merino, an untreated merino. So I think that that's why they've gone down that pathway with a slightly bigger needle. If you want to use vintage 10 ply in this, by all means do. You will get your tension, you'll get your gauge, no worries there whatsoever. And you will just get a slightly denser fabric, which you may prefer. So you can do either, but having swatched it, having looked at the yarn that they have knitted this with, I personally have gone vintage DK. The other yarn actually that I think would work really well in this design at that gauge is actually Sock Mortician Edition DK, because that's an untreated yarn. It's got there's quite a high merino content in the recycled fibre of that yarn, and there's that little bit of possum content in there as well. So you'll get a nice bloom. So I think that would also look really, really good as well if you're looking for another yarn. And of course, if you want to go with something a little bit more rustic, Southlander all day long would look fabulous in Fox Bay. And the beautiful thing about Southlander being a crossbred yarn, it's a little bit more vigorous and lively, so it's going to fill the gaps, no worries whatsoever in terms of that gauge. And actually, if you love this beautiful pink, we've got I think no, is it Joy or Hope? I can never remember which. And the Truly Myrtle collection is also a beautiful, beautiful, rich berry pink. So you can actually do something more rustic there, or even throw the boat, throw caution to the wind and do a marl. But Southland DK, if you stocked up on Southland DK or Truly Myrtle, that is another great yarn for Fox Bay. So, to catch you up from Monday, I talked about the modifications because let's face it, this won't be a knit along and won't be a Maree project without modifications, because that's just how I roll. I mean, why would I? I'm a bit like Ethan. I know we're dreadful. Why would I knit something as written? In my case, with this particular design, and I will pop it up on screen so you can have a look. With this particular design, is I know for a fact that when I took my measurements, I've taken the measurement that I'm predominantly using is my upper bust measurement. Oopsie daisies, there we go. So there we go. So the measurement that I'm using is my upper bust measurement. So then that guarantees that I will get a good fit through this area here in the shoulders, which is what you want. There is nothing worse than slippy shoulders. And because this has such a deep V, I wanted to make sure that that upper bust measurement was the one that I wanted to take. As you can see, this the model used here has got a figure that I would just only dream of, and I don't have a figure like that. I'm very much pear-shaped, and my size down here, with this lovely, rich, generous rib down here, my hip measurement is actually one full size bigger than my upper bust measurement. So what I have gone and done is I have cast on one size down here, and from this portion here, from above the ribbing here, in the zone, hopefully you can see my little arrow, in the zone from there up to about here is in my case around 30-ish. It's actually up to the top of the V there. So I've got that zone there is the zone that I've got to play with in terms of modification. Now, even though I'm a good size pear, I do actually have a little bit of a waist. So I am going to be doing a reduction of 10 stitches to get me from the size that I've cast on here to the size that I want to be up here, which is a series of 5 double decreases. And I have started them from above the ribbing every 14 rows I did in the end. I said on Monday I thought I'd do every 12. Once I got into the project, 14 actually was the better sweet spot in terms of measurement, which means that I will have those decreases finished somewhere in around this zone here, which will actually gently taper me in into my waist, which hopefully will give me a very, very, very subtle but slight silhouette, because I would do anything to take some pounds off, even if it's only an optical illusion. That is what one will do. So that is the plan. So this is what I've already started, and this is it here. So here it is. I told you I finally found my needle sitting on another project. Of course it was. Of course it was sitting on another project. So there it is there with our lovely big generous rib at the bottom. And I have just started my first decreases. So I've done 2 already. So the first one is just there, and the second one I've just done up here. So as you can see, that's the first 2 decreases, and I've got about that much more, and I'll have the decreases done. Now, the way I've done these decreases, I had a little fiddle around with that too, and I'll just see if I can, this side here you can see it more. Yes. So what I've gone and done is I've actually knitted 2 stitches in. Yeah, 2 stitches in. You see that? And then I have just used on the beginning of a row, I have used an SSK. And then on the back end of the row, I have done a knit 2 together. So what that does is it means that those first 2 stitches that I've knit of the each row will remain static, completely static, and the decreasing will decrease into those 2 stitches at the side. And the reason I've done that is that when I go to sew this up, that first stitch will pretty much melt away as the selvage in my mattress stitch, and I will have a single stitch there, and it just means that you will have this nice clean seam line either side underneath your arms. So that is the reason why I have done that. And yeah, and it will look good. And so I'm actually at this really, as I said, it's like the first chapters of a book. I'm at this really lovely stage now where I'm at that complete mindless part of the knit, which is actually really, really nice. So I'm literally just doing stocking stitch. I have to say, obviously I've knocked out a ever after, but after doing shoji, which was a 6-row pattern repeat, of which only 2 of those 6 rows were plain and the rest of them were single rib, this is like feels like is working up so fast because it's just plain old vanilla stocking stitch, and it's lovely. It's really, really nice for a change. And I just know that this will go quite quickly, and then of course I will get into the shaping for the back of the neck, which is a deep V shaping at the back of the neck, and then we'll go from there. One of the things that I do like about working in pieces is that because you are working in sort of bite-sized chunks, it does kind of feel like it goes a little bit faster, and you forget that, particularly when you've been working so many projects in the round for so long. So you've been working in the round, you've been doing things in the round, and it just sort of seems to take forever, particularly if you're doing top down inner yoke and you're thinking to yourself, when am I going to get to sleeve separation? And then you finally get to sleeve separation, and then you kind of feel like sometimes you're just literally going around in circles forever. Whereas when you knit in pieces, it kind of actually breaks that back up again. And it is, do mix it up. Do mix it up. I mean, I bounce between the two. I'm a whore. I'll do anything in terms of different techniques and styles. But if you're somebody who isn't fond of knitting in the round, this is a great pattern in terms of knitting flat and straight. So that is where I'm at with my Fox Bay. I'm really, really happy with the Diva and the vintage. It's totally meeting all my expectations and making me very, very glad. So I'll be looking forward to getting stuck into more of that tonight. And showing you some more progress. Oh, this is interesting. Yes, Tabitha's saying purling hurts her shoulder, so she prefers to knit in the round. And I can actually understand that, because I think there is often more of an action, different action, particularly if you're a thrower. But then there are other people, like I know that we have a mutual friend, and he purls faster than he knits, and he prefers. And in fact, all his in the round stocking stitch patterns, I actually asked him this. I said, so do you do them all inside out and purl? And he went, yep, purls the whole time. Whereas I know other people that hate purling, whereas I really couldn't care less. I also know too, some people, and I don't know whether this is a continental thing or whether it's a British technique thing, but apparently too, some people also have different gauges between their stocking stitch and their purling. And the only time that they discover that is often when they're working in the round, because when they work in the round, and I don't know whether anyone has struck this, when you work in the round, that your gauge can often be more relaxed than what it is when you've swatched flat. And I've struck this when people have done a swatch, flat swatch, like my little friend here. So when I do all my swatching for work, just as a by the by, so whenever I'm testing a yarn or whatever we're doing in the boys at the mill, or I need to test it and I do my swatch, I will always work my swatch flat. And the reason for that is because whenever we're testing specifications, it's always based on a flat piece of fabric. But yes, Tabitha's just saying, yeah, she does. In the round, it's looser. Whereas when you're knitting in the round, you're just doing knit stitch. You can actually get quite relaxed with it. So your gauge can be looser. And I have struck it when people have gotten perfect gauge on a flat swatch, then moved into their project in the round, and then all of a sudden they're finding that, especially if it's something that's yoked, as opposed to a cardigan, which is often work backwards and forwards, but the tension changes, and and all of a sudden the garment isn't fitting, they're getting more ease than they were expecting. That is because if you are working a lot of stocking stitch in the round, just knit stitch, you will obviously have a tendency to relax. So that is a trick for young players, actually. I know for me, I'm just trying to think, do I get that? It's been so long since I've done one. I do, but I often will compensate for that. So that's when often too I will pull back a size or I'll have a look at these. It's usually around, it's often no more than a stitch. It can be like a half stitch to a stitch difference. But if you're doing a large project, and particularly if you're a large person doing a large project, that actually can make quite a big difference in the final garment, especially if it's a garment that has very little ease or negative ease or just no ease at all, which means that it just is a standard fit to hug or press against the body. So yeah, sorry, sidetrack. I know, went off on a tangent. But that is where I'm at with Fox Bay. So and in fact, I'll get some pictures taken on that today and pop it up over on the Speakeasy. If you have been on the Speakeasy this morning, have you been in your inbox this morning? If you were one of the people actually that noticed it on Tuesday, I put some stuff up over on the sale page, and then I noticed that Claire has been on the sale page this morning, and I had to talk to her about that too. There are some dips that have gone up, and the first one I'm going to talk to you about is the new dip called Nightshade. I wanted to get this out on Tuesday, and then MailChimp went down, so I couldn't do it. And I tried again, and for some reason it was having an outage. So it is up now, and it is live now, and you will have it in your hot hand. So this is it here. This, I think, is the best yet from the team in the Dye House. Absolutely amazing. This just gives you an idea of the spectrum from the darkest through to the lightest. Most of them we have sort of fit more into this colour spectrum. There aren't too many here. I just think they're utterly gorgeous. So they're a mix of just beautiful berries and blues and sort of icy tones. We've called it Nightshade. And this is the first one that up until now we've been getting them to do all the testing on our just standard wool, machine washable wool TK, because you pop it on the slightly lower value yarn than the higher value yarn. But this one has gone on to our superwash merino. So we've allowed the team at the Dye House, crack open the good stuff, Dennis. You're allowed to get the good stuff. So this is on there, and I think they have done an amazing job, an absolute amazing job. These are up for $19.95, which I think are incredible value for a yarn like this. Utterly gorgeous. There is machine washable, obviously, 338 meters per skein. So in the newsletter this morning, and I'm just going to switch this over, I wanted to give you a couple of ideas of something that you could do. And when I've actually had these, and these came through last week, and it was actually kind of cool because last week I also got sent some patterns by our fabulous friend Charles Gandy. And the first thing I thought when I saw this one come through was actually a pattern he put out a couple of months ago, which I've talked about before, which is the Himalayan shawl. I love the shawl pattern. Absolutely love it. In fact, I need to get my skates on. Del, I might send you some stuff to do this one, I think. I'm going to get one of these done for the shop. It's a great shawl pattern where it's a mixture of layered garter stitch and there it is. You can see it on the blocking mats, layers of garter stitch and just a simple yarn over lace. Really relaxed knitting. But what makes it so good is when it comes to these beautiful dip yarns. And I think I talked about this with one of the dips before in the DK, because ultimately, Charles has written this for a fingering weight 4-ply yarn. But when it comes to any shawls, I'm often sizing up and sizing down with a shawl all the time. So if you're doing a DK weight yarn in the shawl, I would use a 4.5 millimeter needle, and you just need to adjust your meterage, ish accordingly, about 20% more maybe in the meterage, and you get this lovely big lush shawl, which I love in a DK. This one, Shan's just saying she's nearly finished the Kiss shawl from Charles and DK. That would look amazing. This one, what I love about the garter stitch, those ridges of garter stitch, the big blocks of garter stitch, and those yarn overs. The beautiful thing about that is when you're doing either garter stitch or yarn overs, what you're getting is you're moving stitches in different directions, right? So when you've got stocking stitch, everything's all in beautiful, nice vertical rows, and everything's all looking plain. And so that's when you'll often can get pooling or striping and things like that happening. When you've got garter stitch, you've got stitches that are overlapping like this because of course you're flipping things around each time. It's a reversible stitch. So you've got interlinking stitches like this. Then you're doing a yarn over, and when you're doing a yarn over and a knit two together, you're actually moving the yarn over, and then you're actually sending your sandwiching your stitches together and popping them on an angle. So when you're doing that, you're actually creating movement and different directionality in your stitching. So when it comes to using something like this, it then means it sends the colors off into the different directions and round and the such. So any design with stuff like this really does make a tremendous difference in terms of the distribution of color and how it actually looks in its entirety. And that Himalayan shawl does it absolutely beautifully. Now, the beautiful, and the other neat thing about it, as Charles has written in there, is the way that it's designed is you just sort of keep going until you get the size that you want, essentially. 2 skeins would get you sort of the standard smaller size, but he did say, he has said in there, if you actually wanted to make it a wee bit bigger and do slightly bigger blocks in there, grab a 3rd skein and it will make the world of difference and really get you a beautiful, lush shawl. Now, that directionality also plays out, and I've grabbed this. This is a Niada. This one is done actually in a printed yarn, but it just shows you, because of the yarn overs, even though that there is a certain element of stocking stitch in there, the yarn over knit two togethers is interrupting the symmetrical, organized, linear nature of stocking stitch. And because it disrupts it, as you can see, it helps disrupt and disperse the color. So this is Niada by Martina Beam. If you follow me all the time, you know that I've got one of these. I've almost always got one of these on the needles. I've got one on the needles as we speak. It's my favorite. It's my go-to. That and Hitchhiker from Martina are my absolute go-tos. This one, though, from Charles, I think will become a go-to as well. It is just a really relaxing knit. And on the theme of relaxing, he sent me last week this little beauty, and it's a brand new one. When I now need to go and find it, do I not? Because it's only just come, and it's called the Cross Tracks Shawl. And there it is, Cross Tracks Shawl. So this little number is a brand new one. So this one is slightly different in the sense that he's gone back and he's using 2 colors. But what I love about this is he's actually used a technique that I used actually in a cowl. I think I wore it the other day. It's just a plain cowl, and someone asked me for the pattern. Couldn't tell you. Honestly, couldn't tell you because I made it up years ago. Chardonnay was involved, you know me. But it's exactly what Charles has done here. So if you need to know how to do that cowl, buy this pattern, because it's exactly what Charles has gone and done here, which is, in fact, he's added a couple of extra rows here and made his more structural. He's done this beautiful mix of a yarn over knit 2 together eyelet row in a solid or monotonal shade mixed with your coloured yarn in between. Now, my cowl that I did was actually in a ball. I had a single ball of Noro Silk Garden, and I just I love Narrow Silk Garden, and I just did the whole thing. But it's exactly the same concept. So the beautiful thing about this is you're creating drama and texture with this eyelet row, and then in these recessive rows, you have these beautiful little oceans of color in between. So you could do something like this within the cross tracks. You could use your dip in the center, and then what I would be inclined to do is I would be wanting to do something solid in between. So the solid option I popped in the newsletter was Skeinz sock, which is just it's a blue gray, which is perfect. So it doesn't matter which combination that you send, and when we send these out, so if you order, for example, enough to do a pretty little t-shirt, for example, 4 or 5 skeins to do sort of a project, we are working really hard to make sure the 4 to 5 skeins that we send are within the same color zone, so then that way you can blend effortlessly from one skein to the next. But the beautiful thing about this Quarry Ridge and Skeinz sock is it doesn't matter which one you get, whether you get this darkest one here or the lightest one there, it goes effortlessly with both of them. And I think in that cross tracks shawl, it would look amazing. Really, really gorgeous. The other yarn I think that would work with this in that shawl is De Lavery. In a Sock Mortician edition, I think that would look pretty mint as well. It'd be fairly amazing. Or from Baby Bandit, Intrepid, which of course is a fantastic navy blue. So it's just, that would look absolutely brilliant. And if you're still wanting to do your mystery knit-alongs and get some mystery knit-along packs together, just remember that these you only need 2 of these, and then 2 100 grams of like a contrast, and then 4 of something else. So if you were wanting to do Nightshade, Brain, Intrepid, and then you want to add a little pop of colour. Well, if you wanted to keep it actually all quite together and subtle, that was the other one I thought that would work for a mystery knit-along kit. So that is Nightshade with Orb Fine in Venice and Intrepid from Baby Bandit. Wouldn't that be amazing? I think that would look incredible. Well, the other one that I thought that would work quite well if you wanted to add a little bit of drama is Gold from Orb Fine. I thought would look really amazing and add a little bit of a drama. If you wanted to add a whole heap of drama in there, if you've got some Radiance or Charming in your stashes, I think we might have a little bit of that left in Baby Bandit. That would work too. So you've got plenty of options to play around with. These are up now, $19.95 a skein. We don't have a massive number of them, so definitely stash up on those to make sure you don't miss out. And the girls are madly winding more as we speak. We've got more coming in. I mean, I walked in this morning. There's Ian is having quite the party over at the dye house at the moment doing these. So there's all sorts coming through, and both 4-ply and DK weights. And I think we're going to be having another summoning across to the mill to have a look at those. And then finally, I'll just check actually the page, because Claire did pop up. They've had a big catch up and a clean up post sale, and then they've just discovered that oh no, it's already gone. There we go. She did have a few of the Deep Harbour and a couple of others, but you guys have already snapped those up. There are a little bit of the Hecates left, which is the beautiful soft mauvey purple. So do make sure you jump on and get that Nightshade quick smart, because I don't think it will last very long at all. So that is up and ready now. Alrighty, that's me. I think I'm going to go and head off and go and do some more exciting. I love spring. I really do love spring. And it's actually a nice time to knit this time of year, isn't it? Because you're sort of heading towards that sort of, I mean, I know it's crazy because we're heading into a summer, but for me, this is a time that I get to sort of plan and do some really fun knitting. And for those of you in the Northern Hemisphere, of course, heading into cooler climes, it is so much fun to be able to knit stuff that is a wee bit cooler and a wee bit more fun. So there's still plenty there. And I'm trying to cook something up for next week, because next week is our birthday for the new shop. I need to talk to Claire about it. I'm trying to cook up something special for you guys. I'm trying to decide what it is. There will definitely be a birthday dip. I've already seen which ones are going to be the birthday dips, but I'm just trying to figure out something really, really fun to do for next week. So watch the space. Hopefully I might be able to do that on Monday. Oh, Callum's just saying, yes, the wisterias are flowering. Yes, mine's actually about to flower too. And actually everything is flowering. But I need to find something fun to do for our birthday. So stay posted for that. Until then, have a great weekend knitting, and I will talk to you again then. Take care. Bye.